the paranormal war room, the legends arise. We're diving deep down where the truth never lies. Diving deep down where the truth never lies. Unravel the mysteries, let the stories unfold. This beat, these tales are daring and bold.
So I'm Josh.
I'm Audrey.
I'm Seth.
And I'm Tori. And
Well,
we started...
I'm Corky, and it's nice to meet you guys, man. I know you guys told me you're from Texas. I live in Tennessee, so you'll probably recognize the accent here, so just bear with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
But tell me how you guys got started, man. I come across your podcast while I was at work one day. That's basically all I do all day at work, sit around, listen to podcasts, stuff like that. And that's when I reach out to you guys, see if you might want to come on here and, tell about some of your experiences. So how'd you guys get started?
It actually started with me and Tori. So we listen to true crime and watch paranormal. We've all grown up on paranormal. So Tori, Seth, and I are siblings, and then Josh is actually my husband. And it started out with me and Tori watching paranormal shows, true crime, and we're like, all right, we're watching all this stuff. We talk about it anyways. Let's make a podcast. So we started it, and kind of life got in the way, and it was really hard to get our schedules to match up. And so I was like, hey, Josh, can you fill in for her? And then Seth filled in, and then we're like, what? It kind of gives it a unique look by alternating each person each week, because we're all different stages of our lives. Tori's young, single, doing her thing. That's a young parent. We've been married for almost 20 years, have kids. So it just kind of gives you that different perspective on different stories.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Me and my wife have been married. What have we been married? 22 years, something like that. 23 years. I'm sorry. I'm going to be in trouble when I get off here.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Yeah. But is it Tori? We can't see Tori. Tori, lean over here and say hi to us.
Scooch over a little bit. Yeah. She's tiny anyway. So.
There she is. There she is.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's how we got our start, and we've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
It's a great hobby, man. I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, I do another podcast. It's called Remember That, and me and like 5 of my friends, we review horror movies, and we have a real good time doing that. But
what's your favorite horror movie?
My favorite horror movie, I would have to say Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1.
Okay.
If I'm talking about just horror movies, then I'll you've got Halloween. That's the episode we done last night was 1978's Halloween. I love that movie. I'm just a fan of horror movies, probably since I was come out the womb. You know what I'm saying? But if I had to break it down, I have to say Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1. Because it always gave me the creeps the most,
We thoroughly enjoy spooky movies and stuff.
Yeah, we grew up on it. Same thing. As long as I can remember, our moms either played paranormal, horror movies, anything spooky. We've all grown up on it.
Yeah, that's the same way with me. Most kids were going to the movies watching Disney movies. I was going watching movies like The Gates of Hell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I can definitely relate. And now we're passing
it on to our kids, so.
Yeah. Same way here. But what we do on this show is we kind of just chat about some of the paranormal stuff we've had happen to us, man. I'd love, I know if you guys are doing a show where talk about ghosts and stuff like that, then I know you've had to have something paranormal happen to you in your life. So I'd love if you'd share something with me that's happened, if you want to.
Yeah, I think most of us have. I think we should start with your Bigfoot, because you guys just did Bigfoot the other day, or we're talking about Bigfoot.
I'm learning a lot about Bigfoot, and
oh yeah, we did too.
And we actually just covered Bigfoot on our podcast. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and kind of the origins of it, and Native Americans and how they contributed to it. And I actually learned a lot when we did that episode, stuff that I didn't know. So
that's if you guys like to talk about Bigfoot, I don't know if you've seen my episode with John Methenkamp that I done. He's very knowledgeable on that stuff. He's a real good friend of mine, and maybe you guys want to go on his show and talk about it with him, because he's got a pretty big channel. He's actually doing a Bigfoot conference tomorrow in Ohio. Cool. But yeah, he's always looking for some interesting guests, especially when it comes to Bigfoot. So That's I didn't realize you guys might like to talk about stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you
We
know,
cover it all.
Yeah.
well, if you got a Bigfoot story, by all means, let me hear it because you guys are from Texas, and one of the most famous Bigfoot stories I've ever heard came from the state of Texas,
Yeah.
and that was Art Bell's bug story. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that, but that's one of the main stories that made me give a little credence to the Bigfoot, phenomenon. Is that story that was told on Art Bell's show that night, and it came out of somewhere in Texas. So I know you guys, if Bigfoot's real, they got to be running around down there somewhere.
Well, mine actually took place in Oklahoma. That's
Oh,
where I
really?
originally grew up. So when I was a kid, my buddy had a farm, and it had this. It's a pretty good sized hill. It wasn't really a mountain, but it was pretty tall. Um, and it had a lot of rock and stuff in it, and it had this big rock overhang. And underneath there, we kind of hung out because there was a flat spot. And if it rained, that overhang kept it dry. And throughout that little range of hills where the rocks were, there were big crevices that you could walk through and stuff. And back then, we used to shoot each other with BB guns.
Yeah, I remember those days, man.
So we would always go out there and have like a BB gun war, and people would go on top of the little hill, and then people would come up from the bottom, and we would just have a great time out there. Well, me and a buddy of mine were sitting up on top of that little hill, and we heard something moving around. And then we turn around, and there's something standing in the tree, and it was huge. I'd say about 200 yards away. Couldn't really tell what it was at the time, but it was big and hairy, and it scared the crap out of us. We were probably 12, maybe 13.
Right.
And as soon as we spotted it, it took off running. And most other people wouldn't run after it, but we ran towards it, and it ran so fast that we couldn't keep up. And by the time it got to the edge of that cliff, it disappeared.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So we get up to the edge of the cliff finally, and we're looking over the cliff thinking, maybe we can see something moving in the grass or the weeds down there. And there's absolutely nothing. It's almost like it vanished in thin air.
That's insane. That kind of makes me think about, people are saying that Bigfoot might be an interdimensional character or something like that.
And we actually talked about that on our podcast as well.
I think that's pretty far-fetched. I mean, that's just my opinion, but
Yeah.
who knows, man? Because, we're learning new stuff every day, and the fact that Bigfoot can just disappear like that, if that's what it was, there's got to be something to it, man. The more I learn about Bigfoot, I used to just shrug it off and just think it was kind of silly, But like I don't know if you guys listened to that show, that infrasound thing that I learned about, and then I kind of thought back to my childhood and said maybe I've had that experience myself. So I don't know. The more I talk to John and other people around here, I'm thinking maybe they might. I'm not saying the big feet's real, but stranger things have happened. You know what I'm saying?
For all I know, could have been a bear.
Yeah, it could have been. But you would think you could see a bear couldn't escape, like that because,
I would have thought so too. But then again, we were young. And then we also talked about this when people see things like that. What did they call that? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but they see something, but they believe it's something else. So that's what they see. So it's a squirrel, but they believe it's a wolf. They see a wolf, and it's really just a squirrel hanging out in the woods.
So maybe as a young kid, our minds were playing tricks on us, and we were feeding off of each other. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, there's no telling, man. There's strange stuff out there. Like I was saying, if the silverback gorilla wasn't discovered until 1902, then there's no way. There's plenty possibility that there could be another species out there that we've not discovered.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much undiscovered Earth that we've never even seen.
Yeah, technology has definitely pushed it towards maybe it doesn't exist, but I've always said this: the percentage is not zero. Because we learn stuff every day, man. We learn stuff every day.
Yep.
Is that the only cryptid thing you've ever come across, or?
I mean, not necessarily. I've also seen a light in the sky one time, which was weird. So I'm maybe 17 at the time, and I'm about as far as the old cordless phone would reach, sitting on the trunk of my car.
Right.
No, that was back before we all had cell phones. I'm showing my age a little bit.
I feel you, buddy. I feel you.
So I'm sitting out there talking on the cordless phone to my girlfriend at the time, and I'm just staring up at the stars. And I've seen this light flash across the sky, and I didn't think nothing of it. And a few seconds later, these 3 big black helicopters fly in that direction.
Okay. Now we're
And
starting to get somewhere.
yeah,
And this is Oklahoma too.
yeah. So it's
Right.
big sky, huge
Yeah.
sky out there. You can see everywhere. So as it gets to the other side of the horizon, those helicopters fly that direction. And about the time they get towards that side, it flies out the opposite direction again.
Wow,
They
really?
turned around and followed it. They did that about 3 or 4 times before they finally disappeared. But I also grew up next to an Air Force base.
Right.
So I'm not sure if maybe that was like early drone technology or what that was, because that would have been around early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. When it comes to UFOs and stuff like that, when I talk about Bigfoot, I think, it's possible. But there's no doubt in my mind that there has to be other life forms in this universe other than us.
There's gotta be.
You're
there's
very
just
naive if you think we're the only beings here.
yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I always tell everybody. You can't look up in the sky and see all those stars and think that, it only happened here. That's just not possible in my opinion.
Yeah.
The universe is too big for life to have only happened on one little planet floating around out in this, vast universe that we live in. I know you guys talk a lot about true crime and stuff, but what's one of the best ghost stories you guys have covered on your podcast?
I would have to say the what was that elementary one that we did?
When I was in Kansas City.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. I don't remember what
Was
that
it
Fair.
Fair for Larry?
Yeah, Fair Elementary. And I think it's because of the footage that has come out of there and the evidence. Like the EVPs there are probably the clearest EVPs I have ever heard. And it just gives you kids are creepy anyways, especially in a creepy schoolhouse.
What state is this in? Is this around where you guys live?
No,
Yeah.
Kansas City, I think.
Yeah.
Kansas City, okay.
I think so. We'll have to double check that. But yeah, it was definitely creepy. I'm trying to remember exactly what it said. But they were doing an EVP session, and the reports there was the principal.
It was or worse.
Yeah,
Something
or
like
worse. Yeah, they were doing EVP session, and reports were that the principal would abuse the children there, and they were kind of asking, "Well, are you scared to be in trouble, or what's did you get in trouble? And did you get put in the corner? That's what it was. Did you get basically be put in timeout? Did you get put in a corner?" And there's an EVP clear as day that says or worse, and that is just chilling. And it happened right at the closet where he would take the children and abuse them. And so that just very scary. And then that same one, they had a ball that they had in the middle of the gym. And the reports are that the ball would move on its own, and you can clearly see the ball go. It comes to a complete stop, and they're talking for a few seconds, like, "Can you please move the ball? Can you please move the ball?" Hasn't moved for a while, and then all of a sudden that ball starts rolling, and it's like, whoa.
Man, that's crazy. When something like that happens, how can people say that, spirits don't exist? If you see something like that happen, I don't understand the skeptics' argument for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I would say, at least for myself, I think most of Tori's a little bit more, I think, more of a believer than most of us. We are skeptical believers, if that makes sense. I really like Ghost Adventures. The TAPS team, I like how they approach their investigations. They really do their research and on the history of the place, and they really do try to debunk everything, all the claims, or if something happens while they're there, they really do a good job of debunking it. And so when they do find the evidence and they can't find a reason why it happened, it makes it just gives that much more credit to their evidence to me. So
yeah, TAPS, I give them a lot of credit because I think they're pretty much legit. I don't know much about old Zach Bagans and all them. That dude stays possessed half the time he's during the show. So I don't know. It's entertainment. It is what it is. I can't hate on him for it. If they was paying me $1 million, I'd get possessed every show too.
exactly.
But is it Tori? What makes you more of a believer than everybody else? Is there something? Has something happened?
Spooked. I think she gets spooked more easily, I guess I should say.
I think it's because I'm also a believer in God, it's like,
Saying we're devil worship. What are you doing?
like, I have a stronger spiritual side to myself than y'all do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you believe in this thing, in my mind, it makes sense to believe in this other thing too. You have bad, you have good.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Absolutely. You talk to these people that worship Satan or whatever you want to call it, if you believe in Satan, you have to believe in God. There's no, one goes along with the other one. But,
What about
but
your
yeah,
experiences?
I haven't had experiences. I've had people, like, tell me experiences of, like, paranormal stuff. The only, I would say, like, superstitious stuff that has happened to me is probably, like, I'll have deja vu a lot. Like, I'll be talking to my roommate, and I know, like, the words I'm saying, and the next time, like, I say that, I know I'm gonna hear sirens going off in the background.
And that
really.
happens.
Yeah.
So you're like intuitive, I guess.
Yeah, it's like my intuition is like,
Yeah.
spidey sense.
Yeah. And I would say, and believe it or not, that's really common in our family for the women because our mom's the same way, our grandmother's the same way. My intuition is like ridiculous. I mean, I can clock somebody from a mile away. They can walk in. I'm like, their vibes are off. There's just something off with them. And you just clock it really fast. And so, and we've talked about that. Does it have to do with childhood trauma? Like you have to almost exercise that muscle. And so you are more in tune with it. Or is it just something that comes naturally? I don't know.
I'll tell you my theory on it. I think the human body is just like a cell phone, and I'm using this metaphorically, but some antennas are just better than the other ones, if you got a good antenna, then you pick up a better signal than the rest of us.
Yeah.
And then some of us got coat hangers with aluminum foil wrapped around it, walking around. We don't pick up anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was wanting to get into you guys and just see if somebody's going to start a podcast and call it the Guilty and the Ghostly. I'm hoping you guys had some kind of real paranormal events happen, or is this you love the paranormal and stuff like that? Is that what just got you into it?
So I probably have had more experiences than the majority of them. I will say one that's kind of crazy is I wouldn't call it sleepwalk. I guess I do sleepwalk. I haven't been diagnosed, but I have a sleep disorder where my dreams are very vivid, but not only are they very vivid, but I will go and act them out.
Oh, really?
So if I dream that somebody's walking into the bedroom, I will stand up and stand there and have a full-on conversation with them. With that being said, I know when it's a dream. When I wake up, I'm like, I was dreaming. I know it was a dream. There's only been 2 times in my life where something has happened and I woke up and was like, there's no way that was a dream. Like that's something else. One time I was about 7th grade. I was at church camp. I had a very strong relationship with the one of the youth group leaders. Her name was Missy. She of course slept in the girls' bunk with us. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I was just laying there. And mind you, I woke up. So I wasn't sleeping. I woke up and for some reason I had rolled over and looked at her bed. She was kind of catty cornered to me. And I see this glowing figure standing by her bed, staring at her. And I was like, who is that? So I start looking at it closer and it was like it was herself staring at her. But something told me it was her guardian angel and everything's okay. And peace came over me. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And I rolled over and went to sleep. And when I woke up the next morning, I was like, what happened last night? That was not normal.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
7th grade. So about 12,
About
13
12,
probably. Yeah.
That
And then it's happened one other time. We were living with his mom and dad. We had I think it was your grandmother's rocking chair, that antique rocking chair that we had. It stayed in our bedroom. And kind of the same thing. I woke up in the middle of the night. I felt like I was being watched. I rolled over and looked at the rocking chair, and there was this older lady sitting in the rocking chair. Never seen this lady before. She didn't talk to me like with words, but something came over me and kind of said, Everything's okay. You guys are good. I'm just here to watch. Cool. Went to sleep again. Woke up the next morning. I talked to Josh's mom. I explained the older lady that was sitting in the rocking chair, and it was his grandmother. And his mom showed me a picture, and I was like, that was her. So I guess she was just checking in to make sure. And we had just had a baby. She was about a year old. So I part of me kind of wonders, was she just visiting and just checking things out? Or I don't know. I can't explain it.
So do you think you've only had encounters with good spirits, or have you ever encountered something that might not have been good?
Okay. The cabinet story. The cabinets. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get there too. Yeah. So
Yeah, let's
I
hear the
do,
cabinet story.
We'll get there. We'll talk about the dark spirit first, and then we'll get there. So,
Now we'll get-
had a very rough childhood. Didn't have the best relationship with my biological. Well, it wasn't necessarily with my biological dad. It was with his wife. She was a very horrible person. Very abusive. I did not find out till later. That she possibly practiced witchcraft. I stayed with my dad's mother and father, so my grandparents, and that was my safe place. When I went to their house, that was my safe place. I never felt fear. I could be a kid. Like that was my safe place. I even had my own room there. I remember somebody, I think it was my grandma, had gotten a call from my dad, and she told him I was there visiting if he wanted to come see me. And he kind of him and hawed. And his wife at the time did not want him to come see me. She did not want him to have anything to do with me. And of course, that broke my heart. Whatever. Went to bed that night, and I had the heaviest, darkest, scariest feeling come over me and could not shake it. I mean, it felt like somebody was in the room with me. I literally feared for my life. I literally thought somebody was in that room with me. Could not shake it. Of course, started praying. I happened to go to church that weekend with my grandmother, and it just so happens the sermon was, I'm sure they were talking about depression, but their sermon was, if you get into a dark place, pray to God, sing your hymns, do whatever you got to do to help lift yourself out of this darkness. So that's what I started doing. It eased up a little bit, but not enough. And all of a sudden I had this feeling like, you need to get out of here and get to somewhere safe. So I immediately got up, ran to my grandparents' room, basically made a pallet in their room, and it did slowly start going away. And it was about 2 weeks later after that I actually found out that she practiced witchcraft. And so a lot of me wonders if she found out that they were trying to get him to come see me, and maybe she did something. I don't know. Another thing, along with my dreams, we lived in an old farmhouse, and I would have the worst nightmares. I mean, terrifying, screaming, waking up, screaming bloody murder, and I would have bruises on my arms and my legs and from these nightmares. And it was only in that farmhouse that those types of nightmares would happen. Never really seen anything in that house, just kind of had weird vibes. There were certain, there's a bathroom downstairs that I would not use that bathroom. There was just something off with that bathroom. It was an old family land. It was in Oklahoma. Still have no idea why that bathroom fell off. I never found out if anything happened in there or anything, but it was just gave those vibes, I guess. And so those, all the darkness that I have always felt has always connected to her. And of course, after they split up and I kind of lost, life happened. I haven't had any of those feelings. I have not had those dark, creepy, just impending doom feelings since then.
So when she was out of the picture, those feelings kind of left you and stuff like that.
Yep.
I wonder, do you feel like maybe those encounters were spiritual, that she was I'm gonna say she was causing on you, but who knows?
Kind of. I definitely get that feeling. I know she has kids. One of them I'm actually still friends with on Facebook. I don't talk to her routinely, but I know she has nothing to do with her mother either. And she has told me she was just pure evil. And from what I witnessed and what I went through with her, I would have to agree. She's just a pure evil person. I used to not really believe that until you meet somebody that is like that. It's just a whole nother ball game. So
yeah, when you come across somebody that's got, for me anyhow, if I see somebody that I feel like I can feel if they've got some sort of an attachment to them or something like that. I've always felt like I could sense evil or something like that, or you get a feeling, I tell everybody when me and my family moved into the home we're in now, when we first moved in here, you could just feel heaviness as soon as you walked through the doors, And
Yeah.
I knew moving in here, I was like, we're going to have trouble. I just knew, the house was built in 1864, 200 years old. God knows what's went down in this house, over the
Yeah.
years. And of course, there's been a bunch of stuff happened, and to the point where we had to have, the home cleansed of spirits and all that good stuff. I knew coming in, I could feel that heaviness you're talking about. I could feel that one
Yeah.
as soon as I walked through the door. And of course, we were all excited about moving in this house and everything, just kind of trying to shove it to the side and just ignore it. But you can't ignore that kind of stuff. That's why I say, your body can pick up on stuff like that,
Yeah.
Is this
We
lady still alive today, or is she
I
passed on?
think so. I try. I don't want to open that door, I guess. And so
Right.
I've looked her up once. That was a couple of years ago. She was still alive, but I couldn't really see anything
I
other than
wonder if
that.
she
So
ever used a Ouija board around or in the home you were in or anything like
I
that.
don't know. I don't know. Which you say heavy houses, heavy feelings in houses. So our first house together, they were much younger. Tori was a toddler when we moved into our first house. You walk in and you go to the right, and it was this long hallway, and it would lead to, I think it was 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. And we also had a Rottweiler puppy, and neither Tori, Seth, or our puppy would walk down that hallway. And it kind of like you said, you just walk in and would feel this heaviness. And if you walk towards that hallway, it would get heavier and heavier. And I was pregnant at the time, and I was laying in bed, and I heard these voices, and I was like, oh, well, Josh is home. That's weird. But then I kept listening, and it wasn't his voice. And then our dog that we had stood up and got like his fur was standing up. And I was like, oh, somebody's here. So I get up and go to the back porch where it sounded like it was. Nobody's there. And I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. So I go to the front. Nobody's there. And you could still, like, once I got up and started actually searching, the voices stopped. But in that same house, I would walk in the kitchen, and he has ADHD, like diagnosed, he's got ADHD. He would leave cabinets open. So I would go shut the cabinets, and I would go, to the bedroom. Well, there were several other times too where he would be at work. He wouldn't even be at home, and the cabinets would be open. And I'd be like, okay. So I'd shut it thinking he forgot on the way out, and I would come back in there, and the cabinets, not a lot, but the cabinets would be open just enough to where you notice. And I was like, okay, something's going on here. Well, we were renting that house, and I actually worked for our landlords. And I came in one day, and I was like, something's going on. Like, something doesn't feel right. And one of the girls I worked with there, she had lived there before. And she said, all right, I didn't want to tell you anything, but I've had experiences there. And I was like, okay, well, what happened to you? Well, one day she had went inside, grabbed her stuff, grabbed her kid. She had went outside. They were playing outside, and all of a sudden she hears this blaring music coming from the house. And she's like, well, what in the world is that? So she goes in, and the radio had turned on itself and turned all the way up. So she turns it off, goes back outside. It happens again. Goes all the way up, turns itself on. She goes back in, and the couch pillows and cushions are on the floor. So she had experienced that. Well, I went to high school with the people that owned the house before that, and I had asked her about it. And I was like, did you guys ever feel anything? They experienced the same heavy feelings. They would actually see a man in that hallway. Their 2 bedrooms were the ones in that hallway. And she said her and her sister would wake up in the middle of the night and see a man standing there. But it wasn't like a solid figure. She said it was almost like static on a TV, that he was like almost staticky standing in the hallway, and they would get the same heavy feelings. She said at one point there were handprints on a mirror. They weren't allowed to go in this room, that her dad kind of had it set up as like a man cave or whatever. And he kept blaming them, saying, your handprints are all on that smear, and it was not them that put them there. So we still have no idea why. As far as we know, nobody passed away there, at least when the house was there. So we still have no clue as to why or what would cause it. So
That stuff just happened to you guys, moved out. I wonder if it's still happening there. You guys know anything about it now?
We drive by there. It's sat vacant for a long time after we moved out.
Several years.
Several years. We went by not too long ago, and it looks like there might be somebody living there now. It doesn't look like it's in the greatest shape, but we have thought about knocking on the door and just being like, "Hey,
You guys have had anything happen here?
yeah, got any ghost in here?"
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah, it's strange, very strange.
That is very strange. You guys have anything happen in the home you live in now, or everything all good there?
Not really. It seems to be pretty quiet.
Yeah,
In your old house.
they say, see, I never felt anything in our old house.
It was weird.
These two swear that there was something in our old house, but
There was this one night I was sleeping on the couch, and how the couch was set up was it was right beside the hallway to Jackson's room, and he was like 1, 2 baby at the time, but he still had toys, one of those like push toys to help you walk.
Right.
And he was asleep. Everyone was asleep in the house, and Netflix had asked like, "Do you want to keep watching?" And I couldn't find the remote, and I was
Yeah.
getting really paranoid.
Yeah. Because you know the
And
TV's about to go off.
yeah. And all I hear is, "Come play with me, A, B, C," coming from Jackson's room. But
Are
I
you
knew
being serious
Jackson
right
was
now?
asleep. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, am I going insane?" So I'm like looking over the corner, and sure enough, that toy is on, lights are on, everything. And it's just sitting there playing. No
Yeah.
one's touched it, nothing. Jackson was, I think, sleeping in y'all's room.
yeah, he slept with us, so probably.
So it was weird. There were some weird things that happened in the house.
Yeah,
I
and
can
see,
tell
I
you.
never felt anything in that one.
Well, Jackson's toy would have been in the front yard that night. I could promise you that. You know what I'm saying?
I had something weird happen to me at that house. I couldn't recall what age I was at the time, but I used to stay over there every weekend, every break that we had. I loved spending time with them. Woke up in the middle of the night, and it was like something was sitting on my chest, and I just could not catch my breath. And I mean, like, I even stood up and was walking around, and I don't have asthma or anything like that, so I've never had trouble breathing. This is the only time it has ever happened, and it was at this house that she was just talking about. Woke up in the middle of the night, and it was like something was sitting on my chest. I just could not breathe, and I couldn't catch my breath. Ended up going and making like a pot of hot water or something to like. I thought maybe I was having congestion or something like that, but like I could breathe through my nose and stuff like that. I just could not catch my breath. It
Now
was the most bizarre thing.
let me ask you something. When you got up, I'm assuming you were laying in bed, right? And you felt like something was sitting on your chest.
Sleep on the couch or where the
Okay,
case
yeah.
was.
Now, when you got up, did you still have that feeling, or does it just happen when you were laying there?
No, I think it was still happening. That's why I felt the need to go make the pot of boiling water to sit over it and see if maybe it would break it up. It was,
I
I
can
don't
tell
know.
you, I have some experiences with that. You know, like I said, it goes back to the first 4 months I lived in the house I'm in now. Could have been a movie on the Discovery Channel or something like that. Now, I've done several podcasts in here in the room I'm in now. I've even been sitting here, and it never fails. Every time I start talking about this stuff, I've seen this. There's a door to my right. That door has slung open before by itself. You know, I have a dining room here. Most of the stuff in my house has died down just because, you know, we've got rid of it or whatever, but there's still the dining room. We talk about that heavy feeling. Anytime you go around the dining room, to me, there's still that heavy feeling there. I have 2 full-grown boxer dogs here, and neither one of them like that room. One of them, when it's in that room, will hide behind the door and won't walk out into the room. I've actually got pictures of her doing it. So one of the things that happened when we first moved here was my wife would experience that feeling, heaviness on her chest, like something would not let her breathe and stuff like that. I've actually woke up in the middle of the night, and she would wake me up thrashing, and I'd look over at her, and she would be asleep, but I could see her fighting to catch her breath, trying to get something off her in the middle of the night. That's some of the stuff we dealt with. And of course, we had to, like I said, I'm telling you, just like on a movie, we had to bring people from the church in here and cleanse this home, because whatever was in here when we first moved in, in my opinion, was, well, demonic, and honestly. And when I hear somebody talk about having that thing that sits on their chest like an entity, trying to, people can't catch their breath, that's always what I go to is a demonic spirit, because they're trying to hold you down and basically harm you and stuff like that. So I feel you on that, man. I've had a lot of experience with that, dude, and that's not nothing to take lightly, bro. It's really not, and I'm glad you're not having that problem anymore.
Yeah, a home that old definitely carries history, for sure.
Oh yeah, dang. Yeah, you get up and walk through this house, you trip over a ghost every 5 minutes, man. I'm sure.
Do you
But
think talking about this stuff with doing your podcast and watching the scary movies, do you think that escalates it or feeds it?
110%. Now, I've done podcasts for a long time. Like I said, the main podcast I do is called Remember That, and we talk about, you can see behind me, horror movies and stuff like that. But I've always, I don't know if you guys know who Art Bell is, but Art Bell was the king of nighttime talk radio. He done all these shows talking about Bigfoot, aliens, and time travel and ghosts. And anyhow, for my whole life, I've wanted to do something like this. And so when I started doing this, the first show I done, first episode, my buddy Dustin at work, he came on, him and his wife. And as we were talking, I found out his wife was basically, she can talk to dead people. So she says, I'm not judging her. If she tells me she can, I'm going to listen to her talk about it. But, and I'm assuming you guys, when you do your podcast, do you use Riverside to do your podcast and stuff like that? Well, the whole time we were doing that podcast, and we start talking about her being a medium and stuff like that, their whole feed starts going in and out, and my whole feed starts freezing and going on. And eventually during the podcast, I told him, I said, let's just keep going. I said, because a lot of times when we do the upload, everything will fix itself. But the whole time we were doing that, and go back and listen to the first podcast I put out on this channel, and I explained everything.
I did. It was a husband and wife, right?
Yeah. And she actually told me, she said, Corky, anytime I talk about stuff like this, it's usually somebody trying to come through to communicate with you. And I shut her down. I said, I don't want to hear it, because I told her, I said, if somebody's needing to tell me something, that they can call me, because I don't want to hear it from, anything like that.
Yeah, any other way.
But yeah, I think if anytime you start talking about something and you start feeding energy into something like that, you're going to stir it up, it never fails. And that podcast is a prime example of it, man. I've never had a problem before that, and I've never had a problem since then. But when I was talking to them, I really believe something was trying to come through and talk to me, and it was messing all of our electronics up, man. Because, everybody has problems with electronics, and you have to troubleshoot and stuff like that. But I've never seen, I actually got kicked out of the podcast 2 or 3 times and had to log back in because nothing was working right, and I had perfect Wi-Fi signal. Everything was how it should be. I've done these podcasts for 2 years now, and I've never had that problem. And I told Dustin the next day at work, I said, that's the last time you guys come on my podcast. I didn't sign up for none of that. I just want to talk about some ghost stories. I ain't trying to hear some message from the dead talking to me.
Yeah.
And what was weird about it is, and I told him, I said, my mother just passed away a year ago. And that's what I told her. I said, it would break me if you said my mom was trying to talk to me or something like that.
Yeah.
So I shut that down real quick, and I don't want to know what they got to say. But to answer your question without being so long-winded, yes, I do think if you talk about stuff and stuff like that, if you feed energy into it, you're going to get something back.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
I think so too.
Yeah. But guys, I won't keep you on here all night. I know it's getting late, but I do want to ask you one more thing. And since you guys cover true crime and stuff like that, I've got a lady wanting to come on this podcast, and she told me that her dead grandmother came to her in a dream and told her who killed John Benet. Is it John Benet? What's it called?
John Benet
Ramsey. So she wants to come on here and tell everybody who the real murderer is of John Benet Ramsey. So what do you guys think? I'll be honest, I don't know nothing about the case. But what do you guys think about that?
That's the little girl that went missing.
Yeah, and they found her in the basement. That one's really hard for me. They always ask, what's the one story you wish you could solve? And that's definitely one of them for me.
Yeah.
Or part of me thinks it was the brother, allegedly. I know he sues people, so allegedly. I think mom
They can sue me all they want to. They ain't gonna get nothing.
This is all hypothetical.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Yeah.
I think part
Entertainment
of me thinks
purposes only.
yeah, exactly. I think part of me thinks maybe it was the brother, and mom didn't want to lose both.
Right.
So she covered for him. But then even with that circumstance, there's so much of other evidence that I just don't see it being the brother. I don't know. That's one that I really wish they could have answers for.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys about that because I remember it happening, but I never paid much attention to it. But I'm excited to talk. She told me, she said, do you really want to have me come on your show and tell everybody this? She said, because what I'm saying is the truth. I said, hey, if you want to put it out there, we'll put it out there, man, and if people want to take it and run with it, they can.
Yeah.
But we'll see if that works out.
They do have psychics, and they have literally solved crimes with people that have had dreams or seen something. And there's one famous story, which I'm thinking about covering soon. Kind of the same thing. The daughter was murdered. She came to her mother in her dreams, and if I remember right, she kept making the motion that she couldn't breathe. And I think they didn't know who did it, or they didn't know exactly what happened, and a bunch of other events take place. And come to find out, I think it was like the boyfriend, and they had hidden it with a scarf when she was buried. And they actually used the mother's dream in the court case to help convict him, and he was convicted of murdering her.
Wow, really? You know, there's several cases that you can read about where they used a psychic medium, or I don't know about mediums, but people that can find that stuff out, and they've helped these people, solve these cases and stuff like that. So the paranormal's real. I believe in it, man, and I love to talk to anybody that does stuff like you guys do, because people always have such interesting stories, man. And I've heard a bunch of you guys' stories tonight, man, and all that stuff interests me so much, man. I appreciate you guys coming on here tonight and taking time out of your day.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, just to come on here. Yeah, and anytime you want to talk about Bigfoot, man, please holler at me. We'll just get on here and we'll do a whole show about Bigfoot, man. Because
they have a Bigfoot research group, I guess, not too far from where we live. It's called Jasper, Texas, and they actively go out and look for Bigfoot. So
I actually talked about seeing if reaching out to me.
I'd see if they'll take us on a hunt.
Oh, yeah, that'll be great. That would be awesome. I know they do that a lot here. I live in East Tennessee, right next to Smoky Mountains. Have you guys ever heard of Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg?
It's a beautiful country out that way.
So I live about an hour from Pigeon Forge and all that stuff. So there's mountains all the way around us, man. So, I'm sure if there's some big feet around, there's got to be one up in those mountains somewhere. Well, hey, before we cut out, tell everybody where they can find your podcast and stuff like that. And
you can find us on basically everything: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all Guilty and the Ghostly, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, basically anywhere. If you just search Guilty and the Ghostly, we'll come up.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice meeting you.
The unknown awakens, hear the echoes grow loud. We're diving deep, join the curious crowd. In the paranormal war room, we take flight, bringing the spooky vibes, shadows and light. With every beat, the legends we explore, unleashing the spirits, we're ready for more. Striking down like thunder from the skies. Cryptids lurking near, in the darkness they rise. Paranormal tales that will twist your mind. to the mystery, leave the norm behind. In the war we fight with the strange insight, unveiling truths in the paranormal war. We take flight, bringing the spooky vibes, shadows and light. With every beat, the legends we explore, unleashing the spirits. We're ready for more. So hit that subscribe, don't be left in the dark. Join us in the war, let's make our mark.